Mr. Csikós-Nagy, I have been in Hungary and I've seen certain change in that country. Can you tell me a little bit what I call the Hungarian wonder?
If you can speak about Hungarian wonder, then and if it is realistic, then I think we have to go back to 1957, just after the Hungarian events, when a new economic policy has been introduced first in the agriculture. Now you see the cultural and production level of Hungarian agriculture is not so far from the West European standard as it was at that time.
That's what I meant, yes.
And this was the first step we have done. And then it came 1968 with the non-agrarian sectors, with industry, when we have abolished the obligatory plant target system and shift to a direction what they would call, not everybody will accept this interpretation, but I would like to call market socialism. And in this, we started with this in 1968. We are not at the end. Many steps have been and will be done in the future too.
Yeah. When you change a country and have a consumer's market, there's bound to be some other changes in the policy too.
You know, to tell the truth, our intention was in 1957 and later 1968 to concentrate and to the economic field of the economy of the society. But to tell the truth, if such profound changes will be implemented in the field of economy, it has a direct and indirect effect of the whole life of society. The society will become more and more open, and if you are working with an open society, the whole political framework has to be adjusted to these new conditions.
Yes. Do you find also certain changes in the style of management in factories and all over?
Of course, and I think the big changes will come in the next years. You know, at the very beginning, with the classic form of socialist planning, the productive units in microsphere are nothing but a technical implementation of plan targets of the center.
Yeah.
But with the economic reforms, they really started to work as enterprises with freedom, with risk-taking, with responsibility. And it started in 1968, but just now, when we are working to develop in Hungary the labor market, the capital market, from this you can say then this brings new conditions for the enterprise management behavior, for rational behavior, for the profit motive, and so on and so on.
Yeah. For example, is any company allowed to go bankrupt?
You know, the bankruptcy legislation is a very new one. Of course, its implementation is not automatism. There has been very strict rules, but you know, I could give some big factories from the past who went to bankruptcy, of course. And you know, if not in this form, in another form, let us say today, unfortunately, a big part of the industry, let us say 25% of the capacity is unutilized because they cannot find realistic market to place their products with profit, you know. So from this you can see that it is a new trend of behavior which needs to a restructuring of the economy, and we are just working on it.
Talking about management again, do you think that the change in the lifestyle will come first within the companies?
Pardon, I couldn't follow.
Talking about management again. Talking about management again, do you think companies with the first change that come?
You know, the big change was last year with that the director will be elected by the working council. Not in all enterprises, the biggest one works on the old style. But the middle size and the smaller enterprises, the director is for the future a man who had to have a more democratic contact with workers and with the whole staff, because they will be elected for a very definite period, you know.
Yeah.
This, of course, it is not quite the same as the self-management system of the Yugoslav system, because in big decisions the minister has a veto right, and there is more influence from the authorities than in the Yugoslav system, in principle. I don't know what actually in practice exists there, but anyhow, this is a tendency of democratization of the management system.
Yeah. Do you feel European?
Pardon?
Do you feel European, being a European?
Of course, I feel, you know, not only traditionally because the Hungarian economy with its very foreign trade sensitivity is largely concentrated to the European trade. It is almost 90% of our trade, foreign trade. But in all other respects, the lifestyle and so on, our history, traditions and so on, people, that's all together brings together a very specific pattern, which is a European pattern, of course.
Do you think that this new system now has created better motivation for the workers?
Of course, for the workers and for better relations with non-socialist countries, of course. With the workers, because a greater freedom of enterprises gives for the managers greater flexibility to adjust to the requirements of the workers, but with a greater connection with the performance of the workers, of course. Because if the whole control system is not very rigid and gives more room for decisions for the enterprises, then the mutual interest can be considered better than before. This is one point. The other point is, of course, workers are interested. One wouldn't believe in the international relations too, because they are looking with an open eyes in the world, and if we are very, very, very strongly segregated from European relations, they don't like it. So I think this is also a question of workers to have a better relations with Europe as such.
Yes. A funny thing that Western Europe is moving in the same direction from the other side. It's a more democratic form of management who is coming new now. And I will ask you, do you think it should be a need of some sort of a center of excellence or in management for all Europe?
No, I think, I think in the field of management, yes, it shouldn't be big differences, because this is a very strict rule of rational technique. How to do, how to manage, how to perform, how to be competitive, how to contribute in the best optimal form in the international division of labor and so on. And so this is not an idealistic question which can be differ in different systems, The differences are given in the property relations. The differences are given in some social order of aims and so on, but not in the management system. So I think that all kinds of deviations, which was so very considered very important in the very beginning, were not correct, were irrational.
Okay. Do you think it could be a need of a common language in management in Europe?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure about it. And you will see, if we are organizing international meetings, and not only on macro level, but meetings where managers, directors are involved, they will just find their common language, because the problems are the same.
How about the technical know-how in Hungary?
Oh, I think we are just reconsidering our point of view, which was very typical even in the 70s. We thought at that time that everything is a question of money only. And we had a very irrational and unrealistic hypothesis that every human capital which has been developed in the world can be summing up in a small country. It's not true. That is the reason we have found to new line of cooperation, the import of working capital, the different kinds of cooperation, and to give our best side and ask for helping us, because in its own way, Hungary cannot solve the problem.
Is it so that you must work like some of the countries in the Far East to, give your best thing, cheap workers and all those things, and get know-how back?
That's a rational behavior. That is a rational behavior. Every country has its advantages compared to the other ones, and has a disadvantages compared to the other one. And to find the optimal solution is to bring together the better sides of the economy in both of.
How about doing some forecast about the future?
No, if I'm speaking about the future, then I have to tell you first of all that I don't think that this will be so very fast great as it was, let us say, in the second half of the 60s and the first half of the 70s. This was considered after the reform as the golden age of the Hungarian economy, with a 5-6% rate of growth per annum, and with a very rapid growth of living standard. Of course, everybody was very happy about this. That was the reason we spoke about the golden age, not to speak about the point that it was we succeeded to do it without foreign loans at that time, And then came the first oil price explosion. Then there came the second oil price explosion. Then there was this political challenge between East and West, with difficulties caused, of course, in the field of economy. Then believe that if we will raise foreign credits, we can counterbalance these negative effects of international effects, but it was not realistic to believe on it. So we are now in a rather bad situation. We have to work on the reconstruction of the economy, and I actually believe it can be happen. But of course, the rate of growth will not anymore in the middle range, at least, so high as it was, 6%. But I believe it can be 3%. This is a modest rate of growth, but enough for society. It is acceptable for a political side too. So I hope to reach this standard in not later than 1988.
We have yesterday been on a conference together with Centralsparkasse. How do you see Centralsparkasse's role in this?
For me personally, it's an interesting question, because I am together with this gentleman since more than a year, and what I have in mind, to create here a trading house in Vienna, a Hungarian Austrian trading house. To speak about a little bit about this, I must tell you that Hungary since 1931, with the introduction of the restrictive foreign exchange policy, has used to work on bilateral lines of foreign trade. For a foreign trade sensitive country, this is an irrational way of organizing foreign trade. The best way is organizing on a multilateral level. This trading house, which we would like in the next future to create in Vienna, and then to create one in New York, and some two others too, can be considered as an infrastructural basis to develop foreign trade in multilateral line. And because Austria and Hungary has a traditional connection of the history, very near each other, so, and the friendship is improving from day to day, I must tell you. I think this is the best place to start with such things.
It's very interesting to find a bank making a very aggressive profile in this in economics.
Yes, it is. This Centralsparkasse is not a typical commercial bank that, let us say, the Kreditanstalt, and it was asked why the Centralsparkasse is so interesting in such a kind of business. But I think this is a big bank should not be put the activity far from the actual economic life, of course. So I am convinced that it comes good. something is.
Aha.
But I think that it will come good not only for Hungary but for Austria and for the Central Sparkasse too, to have such a common joint venture.
Thank you.